Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into some really incredible insights from Upstate Carolina Autism Associates, and we're tackling a topic that honestly hits home for a lot of families, and that is building independence in autistic children and teens, specifically over summer break. Let's get right into it.
So right off the bat, we're faced with this huge question. How do we actually help our kids become more independent without turning every single day into an absolute battle? It perfectly captures that classic dual nature of summer break. On one hand, you've got this beautiful hope for growth and fun. But on the other hand, the reality is disrupted routines, overwhelmed schedules, and those inevitable power struggles when we try to push new skills. Building independence shouldn't literally feel like a daily fight, right?
And I think a lot of us fall into this trap. We buy into the myth that true independence means doing everything completely alone with zero help. But the reality? The source points out that independence is actually about having the right skills and the right supports in place to participate fully. It's not about ripping the supports away. It's about providing a solid bridge for them to grow. Okay, moving into Section 1, redefining true independence, and looking at why summer actually matters so much here. Think about a typical school year for a second. It is usually just a frantic marathon, right? You've got academic demands, testing, high pressure, just rushing to get out the door. Summer break, though, is different. It naturally offers these flexible opportunities for much slower learning and real-life practice. Without that heavy cloud of school assignments hanging over your family, you can actually slow down. You can focus on practical, daily living skills that are going to genuinely support their long-term success.
And when we talk about those skills, the source highlights some very precise real-world areas. We're talking self-care, like hygiene and dressing, household stuff, laundry, doing the dishes, community navigation, like shopping or just knowing how to ask for help, and of course, the executive functioning needed to manage it all. Shifting our focus away from just pure academics makes summer the literal perfect laboratory to practice these things.
Which brings us to Section 2, regulation before expectation, and understanding the nervous system. Now this right here is a massive, totally paradigm-shifting question. Is it a skill deficit or is it an overwhelmed nervous system? As caregivers, we really have to pause and ask ourselves if a child is actually lacking the ability to do a task or if they're simply dysregulated. A huge mistake is assuming they just don't know how to do it, when in reality, their nervous system is just absolutely overloaded. Learning simply cannot happen if they don't feel safe and regulated first.
And that overwhelm? It can look like a lot of different things. Sensory overload, anxiety, emotional exhaustion, burnout, or just a deep sense of uncertainty. From a polyvagal-informed perspective, the source explains that when an autistic individual experiences these signs, their brain literally cannot access its executive functioning skills. The skill might totally be there, but the bridge to get to it is just temporarily out. That's exactly why regulation has to be the foundation before we even try teaching a new step.
All right, on to Section 3, executive functioning explained. This is all about the brain's management system. So, executive functioning is essentially the brain's management system. It's what helps us start tasks, stay organized, manage our time, shift between activities, and solve problems. When you realize that this system dictates all of those things, it becomes super clear why daily living skills can be so incredibly draining. We aren't looking at a lack of motivation here. We're looking at a difference in how the brain manages complex, multi-step processes. And recognizing that difference completely changes the game.
Experiencing these differences really just means needing the right scaffolding. The text breaks these essential supports down into 3 categories. You've got visual supports, like checklists and calendars, environmental ones, meaning organized spaces and predictable routines, and cognitive supports, like modeling the behavior or just breaking a big task down into much smaller steps. Again, using these tools doesn't mean they aren't independent. It actually enables it.
And that leads right into this incredibly powerful quote from the text: "Support is not dependency, support is a bridge to independence." I mean, that really is the perfect anchor for this entire explainer. Giving someone a visual schedule or helping them break down folding the laundry isn't coddling them. It is the exact mechanism that builds long-term autonomy.
Let's look at how to apply this in Section 4, practical summer strategies. These are actionable steps for daily living. The source gives us 4 highly practical steps to actually make this happen at home. Number 1, start small, like just one skill at a time small. Number 2, focus on consistency. Honestly, 5 minutes of daily practice is so much better than a massive, stressful weekend meltdown, right? Number 3 is creating predictable routines to help lower that anxiety. And number 4, use their interests as motivation. By breaking it all down into these super low-pressure steps, the learning actually becomes sustainable.
And here is a little genuine relief for all the caregivers out there. Progress matters way more than perfection. Every single completed step represents meaningful growth. The source is very explicit here. There is absolutely no universal timeline. We often put so much pressure on ourselves to teach everything all at once, but every person develops differently. Celebrating that one tiny completed step is just leaps and bounds more valuable than aiming for some flawless execution.
Because it all feeds into this really beautiful upward spiral. As the text puts it, competence builds confidence. Confidence supports regulation. Regulation supports learning. When someone feels competent and confident in a simple, everyday task, their anxiety drops. And because that anxiety drops, their nervous system regulates, which literally opens their brain up to learn the next new skill. Moving into our final section, Section 5, Bridging Support and Community, and taking a look at the UCA approach. Building independence really does not happen in isolation. It takes a village. Caregivers and autistic individuals alike absolutely need community, connection, and support. Families who are actually plugged into a broader network just feel way more confident navigating these daily challenges. You need that safe space to troubleshoot when things get rough, and honestly, a place to celebrate those little 5-minute wins. To help facilitate exactly that, the source highlights Upstate Carolina Autism Associates, or UCAA. They focus heavily on bridging care, connection, and community, specifically offering neuroaffirming mental health care for folks in upstate South Carolina. The text points out their NeuroConnect program, which is designed as a space where individuals and families can build real connections while learning those practical strategies for emotional regulation and daily living. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this question. How will you use connection and support to take one meaningful step toward independence today? Think about how applying this neuroaffirming lens could completely change the dynamic in your home this summer. It isn't about doing it all alone. It's about finding that right bridge. Thanks so much for joining me, and hey, here's to those small, incredibly powerful steps forward.